Hey guys, I didn't realize my hometown was famous, but let me show you guys something. As part of their major league, whatever the hell nonsense, Cincinnati chili, they're selling three-way bentos, and I've got the last one on the shelf. So, yeah, beef, meat, sauce, and cheese. This is, well, not enough cheese, not nearly enough cheese. This is a kind of a sad excuse of a three-way, but when did my hometown start? There's no Japanese players in my hometown anymore. So I honestly don't know where any of this comes from. Like, why? Also, where did I just put it? All right, here's a bit of a close-up. The cheese, the small amount of it melted. Smelling wise, well, let's see here. I'm not sure. Well, let us dig in, shall we? I want to eat this with chopsticks because we're in Japan. I've seen some interesting bentos in my day, and in the 14 years of me living in Japan, I've never seen anything Cincinnati related. Okay, the spaghetti's sticking to each other. All right, the spaghetti is sticking to each other. My chair is very squeaky. There was zero taste of cinnamon at all. It just tastes like bolognese sauce, really. This is just spaghetti and bolognese. This is not chili. I mean, it's just slightly spicier bolognese. Yeah. That really isn't it. That's not Cincinnati chili. But it's not bad. Objectively speaking, it's not bad. But I don't know. I expected more spices to be mixed into it, right? But other than that, yeah, whatever. This is not a real gun. This is a water gun, but it's got a slide, which then you. This was 400 yen for this thing, by the way. It also says Magnum Research, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Actually, they kind of spaced it out weird on this side. Then over here it says Desert Eagle, SOAE, or 50. Sorry, it says SOAE Postal. Okay, yeah. So they got part of it screwed up. But my new favorite water gun. Also, I do want to apologize for the last few vlogs. I filmed an entire insane amount of footage over the beach weekend. This is one vlog, 15 minutes long, for one day only. And then the remaining days of beachness, a lot of stuff, including a couple clips from Akasan. Thank you, Akasan, for letting me borrow these. But yeah, I had a really, 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 really good weekend. And I'm going to have another good weekend, so yay! I'm really glad I'm in the shade right now because it's very, very hot today. It's 95 Fahrenheit up here in Tokyo. I'm walking a good distance right now. I just picked up some stuff from Mark. He was working at the Tokyo American Club, so I was like, okay, I'll go there. I went from the office to Shibuya then to drop off some film. Took the train over to here. While I was on the train, I actually reconnected with a photographer friend of mine I haven't seen in 2 years. Yeah, so then I took the train over to Kamiyacho to go to TAC. And I was like, okay, I have to go down to Tamachi where this office is at for a work project that I'm doing this evening. There's no direct train from here to Tamachi, nor is there any bus. So I am walking the 2-kilometer distance in 95-degree heat, carrying a very heavy backpack and some mixed up cocktail supplies. Yeah. So this is one of the few days in the 12 years I've lived here that I kind of wish I had a car. Past tourist station and hit the brakes very hard. I thought we hit somebody, but no, it's just some jagoff going across the crossing while the arm is down. Alright, we down here in Enoshima today, trying to use this thing in its pouch. It's like flopping around in the pouch, but I mean the vlog I edited yesterday featured this for the first time and it came out pretty well, so taking selfies is a bit tough. All right, let's go. The waves are high though. Yeah. Water looks nice. Let's go on in. There we go. Yeah, water over here isn't as nice as it is in Enoshima. Yumigahama. Woo! Woo! Alright, I'm gonna put this underwater. Yay! This crow is acting quite sus. He just picked up something out on the ground there. Hey everybody! I've got my grandma's camera with me. I'm on I think this is the 3rd roll of film for this camera. And actually maybe I should turn it off now, but one of the reasons I've been actually using this thing a lot when I'm out with my friends is I've heard about this philosophy with black metal drummers. Let me explain it. In black metal, there's a huge emphasis on authenticity. So being authentic and being real with what you are and the music you're playing and stuff like that, that's like the biggest thing for a number of black metal musicians. And I thought about that. With this type of camera here, my grandma's old film camera from the 90s. It's one of those cameras where you can't control anything. You take the photo and that's it, right? I've spent the last couple of years taking photography and learning all sorts of things about how cameras work very seriously. And I think sometimes that takes the authenticity out of the photo. I'll explain this in a second. So one of the drummers of these black metal bands, a very talented, prolific drummer, been in a number of different bands. He mentioned that he wants to de-learn the drums whenever he plays black metal, because despite how technically proficient he is, he still wants the sound and the authenticity of metal, of black metal, to be preserved. And that got me thinking when my grandma's camera, my mom found my grandma's camera because, you turn the flash on, but that's about it. When people take photographs, a lot of times the professional photographers will spend way too much time focusing on the composition and everything like that, but they're not really focusing on what they're actually photographing or what's around them. I should say this happens sometimes. You'll see it a lot of times. Sony usually. Sorry, I'm just throwing a little bit of shade. Friendly rivalry. What I set out to do when I got that film camera, that Pentax last year, was to be more patient with photography, to learn how to, focus on what's around me and actually capture the memory and capture the scene and everything. Because then that instant is preserved for, as long as either, because for me I upload them to the internet, is for as long as the internet's around, or as long as the negatives don't get nuked, right? So that's the thing. I guess the internet is forever, so whatever. With this camera though, I feel like this camera brings me back to a time where people just captured memories and captured a scene. And that's what people do a lot with their phones now, but it also brings me back to more patience too. Basically what I was babbling about for a solid minute was, the camera teaches me to be less serious and be more authentic. The authenticity as a skill could be transferred over to when I actually take cameras and photography seriously. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to think when you're tired and at the gym early in the morning. Every time I use this machine here, I never figure it out. I never know if I'm doing it right. It's supposed to be some sort of like this thing, but like shoulders. That's it, it's reeling it back in. So, take it over here to the Pete Meyer camera and get it developed. Yay. I'm out here at the spotting area. I'm very hot right now. It's very sweaty out here. There's a train coming. I got the Tamrod attached to the ZF. I'm turning this thing in tomorrow, and I've got, just for grins, this guy, who's, I want to use the rest of this film. Just waiting on some trains, I guess. Don't know where everybody's coming from. Yep. There's a long ass line of cars because, here's all the cars. Basically at the station, which is that, if a train pulls up and stops there, it triggers this thing, which is actually why occasionally when I'm arriving back here at Ofuna, if someone, crosses this thing without, safety, get an emergency stop. Which I've seen once because an old lady was just running across there. So now it does open, so it's not an Akazu Fumikiri, which is kind of one of those Fumikiri, the crossings that never opens. I don't know what I'm doing now. I'm just playing with my cameras until it gets dark, really. I am going to get some dinner, then come back here and test out the Tamron at night. So this crossing's open and everyone's going by, but now the crossing over there is closing because that train is gonna pass. Nice. I got is that the long pass? Nippon Express Eco Liner, it says in the container. Yeah, I got that with this. You see, railway vehicles are probably the best thing to test lenses with if you're over in an area where there's a lot of railway, because you can really get a good sense of the movement, how the lens reacts to the movement and how the lens reacts to, a lot of outside stuff. Now I'm at my favorite spot spotting area. As you can see, taking some long exposure shots to test this thing's long exposure capabilities. Anybody coming? I think so. All right, how does that look? That looks pretty good. Oh, that looks pretty good on my screen. There you go.